Oscar Piastri is reportedly targeting a shock move to Ferrari. And the reason goes far beyond simple ambition. The Singapore Grand Prix exposed a brutal truth inside McLaren. When Lando Norris refused a team order to let Piastri pit first, the team didn't argue. They obeyed.
Okay, Lando, strat 6 please, strat 6. We are boxed this lap.
That single radio call shattered the illusion of equality. And now, behind closed doors, talks are already underway. So what really pushed Piastri to look beyond McLaren? And could this be the start of Formula One's next big driver war? Let's break down the latest twist and what could be the most controversial story of the season. This story begins with a moment that should have been routine. Midway through the Singapore Grand Prix, McLaren asked Lando Norris if he would allow Oscar Piastri to pit first. Norris replied no.
Oscar pit the lap before you?
Yep, no, I would not.
The team accepted his answer. That short radio exchange turned what was supposed to be a smooth title-clinching race into a headline about favoritism and control inside McLaren. At first, most people saw it as just another mid-race decision. But then the replays started circulating. Piastri was right behind, losing time on worn tires while waiting for the call. By the time he came in, the advantage was gone. What looked like a small choice from the pit wall became a symbol of how the balance inside McLaren had shifted toward one driver. Singapore was supposed to mark the peak of McLaren's comeback. The Constructors' Championship was theirs. Both cars finished in the top 4. Yet the mood was tense. The issue wasn't the result, but how it was achieved. Norris had been aggressive from the first lap, forcing Piastri wide at turn 1. The FIA took no action, and the team didn't ask for a position swap. Piastri's reaction on the radio, "That's not very team-like," was short but sharp. It summed up how he felt about what had just happened. In the hours after the race, that one line became the focus of the entire weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't very team-like, but sure.
Fans clipped the audio, posted the pit wall footage, and compared it to past moments when teams lost control of their drivers. The comparison wasn't flattering. For McLaren, which has spent years rebuilding its image as a disciplined, well-managed operation, it was the worst kind of attention. Behind the scenes, the tension wasn't new. Earlier in the season, at Monza, McLaren told Piastri to give a place back to Norris after a slow pit stop had reversed their order.
Please let Lando pass, then you're free to race.
Piastri followed the instruction immediately, but the call left him frustrated. At the time, it looked harmless. After Singapore, it looked like part of a pattern. When the cars returned to Parc Fermé, Norris was greeted first by the engineers and camera crews. Piastri joined a little later, but by then, the narrative was already forming. The constructors' title was secured, yet the garage looked divided. One side celebrated, the other stayed quiet. In Formula One, visuals matter more than statements. The photos and short clips told their own story. Andrea Stella, the team principal, tried to calm things down. He called the first lap contact hard racing and said both drivers had equal freedom to fight. Zak Brown repeated that McLaren doesn't favor anyone. The words sounded right, but the timing was too late. Once a team starts explaining that everything is equal, fans assume it isn't. In the days after Singapore, new headlines appeared suggesting that Piastri might already be thinking about the future. Reports claimed he was open to a Ferrari seat if one became available after 2026. The story spread quickly because it made sense. Drivers rarely walk away from a competitive team without a reason, but they also don't ignore patterns that point toward long-term inequality. The idea of Piastri at Ferrari isn't as far-fetched as it first sounds. Ferrari will begin the 2026 season with Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, but both deals allow flexibility beyond 2027. The next rules reset will change almost everything about car design and engine behavior. Teams are already planning for that era, and every major driver wants to know where they'll fit. If Hamilton chooses to wind down, or if Leclerc looks elsewhere, Ferrari will need a new anchor. Piastri is young, consistent, and proven under pressure, traits that fit perfectly with a team looking to build for the next decade. From McLaren's side, the issue isn't performance. Piastri has been outstanding this season, matching Norris across most qualifying sessions and keeping his race pace within a few tenths. The issue is perception. When one driver's opinion on the radio overrides the team's preset plan, it gives the impression that the hierarchy is already set. That perception can eat away at trust faster than any bad strategy call. Inside McLaren, the leadership structure is clear. Stella handles track decisions, Brown handles business and driver management. The question after Singapore is whether those two areas are now colliding. When the garage sees one driver given the final word, even once, it sets a tone that's hard to erase. The engineers might stay neutral, but morale shifts quietly. Piastri's manager, Mark Webber, has experienced this before. His Red Bull years with Sebastian Vettel ended in similar fashion. Equal on paper, not so equal in practice. Webber's approach since then has been simple. Secure contracts with performance guarantees, not just duration. That's why the long-term deal Piastri signed earlier this year doesn't tell the full story. Publicly, it runs until 2028. Privately, there will almost certainly be performance or leadership clauses that give the driver leverage if the environment turns one-sided. That leverage explains why the Ferrari story has weight even if nothing is signed. McLaren can't afford to ignore it. Losing a driver like Piastri would hurt competitively and reputationally. After years of instability, they finally have two world-class racers pushing each other. If that dynamic breaks, the team's momentum could vanish overnight. McLaren's internal review after Singapore will focus on three moments: the Turn 1 contact, the pit priority radio, and the communication after the flag. Each of those incidents on its own can be justified. Together, they create a picture of imbalance. The first lap move shows aggression without boundaries. The pit call shows authority leaning toward one side. The post-race messaging shows poor control of optics. When you combine all three, you understand why talk of a future exit gained traction so fast. The next few races will show how deep the fracture goes. If McLaren implements clear pit stop rules and avoids public disagreements on the radio, the tension can fade. If not, every small moment will be replayed and dissected until it becomes another proof of favoritism. In a title fight this close, even the appearance of unfairness can cost points. The 2026 regulation change adds another layer. Every team is already modeling driver lineups for the new era. Some are thinking about continuity, others are preparing for power unit partnerships that could shift performance dramatically. McLaren is partnered with Mercedes for now, but Ferrari builds its own engines. For a driver like Piastri, who wants long-term stability and technical influence, the appeal of being a manufacturer's lead driver is obvious. For Norris, Singapore was another reminder that success changes everything. His rise from talented underdog to team leader happened fast. He's earned it through speed and consistency, but the dynamics around him are different now. Managing that status will test him as much as any rival on track. The next time he's asked a question like the Singapore pit call, his answer will carry weight far beyond strategy. It will define whether McLaren can still function as a united team. For Piastri, the path forward depends on how McLaren reacts. If the team proves its equality through actions, he stays. If the same situations repeat, priority decisions, split strategies, and awkward celebrations, the exit door becomes more tempting. Drivers don't forget nights like Singapore. They store them as evidence. Right now, nothing official connects Piastri to Ferrari. What exists is a credible idea built on timing, opportunity, and frustration. Ferrari will keep its options open. Piastri's camp will do the same. Both sides have reasons to wait until the 2026 picture becomes clearer. What matters most is whether McLaren can close the gap between words and reality before that decision point arrives. The rest of the season will decide more than just a championship. It will decide whether McLaren's success story continues or splits in two. A team that has worked so hard to rebuild its image is now facing a test that has nothing to do with car design or tire strategy. It's about fairness, trust, and leadership. Singapore was the warning shot. If McLaren doesn't learn from it, the next headline might not be about a constructor's title, but about the one driver who decided to walk away from it. So what's your take? Genuine team tension or a story blown out of proportion? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, check out the next video on your screen. Because this season isn't just about who wins, it's about who can keep their team from falling apart first.